Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prasata Deshatarine Ki bajjayo jayo gora chande arati ka shobha Ki bajjayo Chande Arati Kashobha Jaya Gora Chande Arati Kashobha Janavi Tatavane Jagamanaloba Janavi Tatavane Jagamanaloba Devotee Nitai Chan Vame Gadadara Nitai Chan Devotee Nitai Chan Vame Gadadara Nikate Advaita Shini Vasa Chatadara Nikate Nikate Advaita Shini Vasa Chatadara Nikate Advaita Shini Eva bose ache gora chande Ratna Singhasane Chande Ratna Singhasane কেবা বসি আছে গৌরা চাঁদে রত্ন সিংহাসনে आरती करे नादमा आदि देवगाने आरती करे नादमा आदि देवगाने केवनार आदि कोरी আমার দুলার আদি করি কেবনার আদি করি আমার দুলার संजय मुकुंद बासु मोसादिगा संजय मुकुंद बासु मोसादिगा शिव शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करता शिव शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करता मधुरा में गंगा बाजे परमर साला मधुरा में गंगा बाजे परमर साला शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर मधुर बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल शिव कोटि चंद जिने वदन उज्ज्वल शिव कोटि चंद जिने वदन उज्ज्वल गाला देश वनमाला करे झलमाला गाला देश वनमाला करे झलमाला शिव शिव शुक नारद मे गद शुक शिव शिव शुक नारद मे गद भक्ति विनोद गौरार संपद भक्ति विनोद गौरार संपद शिव जय जय गौरार चांदे आरती शोभा जानरी जग मन लोभा गौरांगे आरती शोभा जग मन लोभा गौरांगे आरती शोभा जग जन मन लोभा गौरांगे राजित शोभा जग जन मन लोभा जग जन मन लोभा जग जन मन लोभा निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरार भक्तवृंद Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Jaya Kishore Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol
प्रभुपाद की जय। विष्णुपाद परम पवित्र श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत प्रभुपाद महाराज की, अनंत गौरी वैष्णविंद की, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की, प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद शिव दाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तविंद की, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर धाम की, मायापुर धाम की, वृंदावन धाम की, द्वारका धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा मैया की, यमुना मैया की, भक्ति देवी की, तुलसी देवी की, श्री श्री किशोर किशोरी की, श्री श्री गौरनिताय की, जगन्नाथ जी बलदेव सुभद्रा देवी की, सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जी की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद और गौरिष्ठदासम और गौरिष्ठदासम और गौरिष्ठदासम और गौरिष्ठ श्री गुरु एंड गौरांग।
Namaste Narasingaya.
Just sing.
Hiranyakashi Purvachaha Shilatankanakaraye Itona Singa Paratona Singa Yato Yato Yami Tatona Singa Bahina Singa Itahina Singa Narasingamadhim Sharanam Prapade Tavakara Kamala Varenakam Adbhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev, Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you so much for joining us for the Sunday Feast program in the new Seva Kunj Dham of Shri Shri Kishore Kishori, Jagannath Ji, Baldev Ji, Balaramani Ji and Sudarshan Ji here and Govindatai. So today is 5th of September. On behalf of our founder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, I welcome all of you. Is there anybody who has come here for the first time? First time? Here for the first time? Thank you so much for coming. Anybody else? So while you go out from the welcome desk, you have a small gift for you. So please do collect it once you go in. Thank you so much for coming. A couple of announcements before we start the program today. As usual, I want to remind again everybody that within the temple premises, masks are mandatory. It is a guideline from the CDC. Also, our temple management has made it mandatory for the safeguard of all our residents and also for the guests who are coming in. So please follow this rule. Within the temple premises, please wear your masks. And all the children who are under 12 should be supervised at all times. If you think they are becoming restless, we have a Sunday school, like a small gathering outside of the kids where a teacher will be telling a story. And on also what we are going to start now, from the 19th of September, Bhaktivedanta School, Sunday School is going to start. The registrations are there, so you can see Ram Raghav Prabhu, he's right outside the door. And he will let you know more about the registrations for Sunday School. That will go from 5:30 to 6 here in the temple premises. Also, we are starting an online Sunday School program. Again on Sundays, it will be in the morning from 10 to 11. And this is usually, it is mainly for the northwest suburb kids, but anybody can enroll because it's online. We also have a deal, if you pay for one Sunday school program, then you get to attend both. So please get more information from Ram Raghav Prabhu, he's right outside there. Some announcements regarding parking. We have been seeing a lot of problems with parking. There are some parking reserved spots for DT department. People who don't have tags cannot park there. Some of the cars got towed a couple of days ago. So please be aware of this. Those parking spots are reserved. And the disabilities parking spot is also reserved. There will be ample of parking spot available on Sundays because it is free to park on the streets. So please use that. These spots will be reserved, so you might get towed. Radha Ashtami is coming next Monday. We have a very exciting program for Radha Ashtami. We will have a very beautiful flower festival. Those who have attended before, know that we will be doing a flower abhishek of the deities. It's a very splendid program. It starts at 6 p.m. This is on Monday, next Monday, 13th of September. And our program goes on till 8 o'clock. We'll have a lecture, some kirtan. So the detailed schedule will be posted outside. And there is a lot of ample of sponsorship opportunities to sponsor flowers and, and the Abhishek itself. Right. So we have a special announcement. All the festivals and Sunday feast is not complete without a sumptuous and a very nice prasadam feast, right? Many of us actually come for that, isn't it? So all that is possible and made possible by one person in the kitchen department. His name is Sri Ram Prabhu. It is his birthday today. So please wish him with a big Hari Bol. Hari Bol! So we wish that he keeps going and feeding us like this always. Thank you so much. Okay. So for tonight's speaker, we have His Grace Yadavacharya Prabhu, who is going to speak. This month is also appearance of Lord Vamanadev. So you see on the picture on the top there, the fifth incarnation of Lord Krishna, Lord Vamanadev. There is a small dwarf Brahman with an umbrella. So he's Lord Vamanadev. So this month is his appearance. So this month will be dedicated to his pastimes, very wonderful pastimes from Bhagavatam, and we will learn some lessons from his pastimes. So today, His Grace Yadavacharya Prabhu is going to speak on 3 steps of surrender, and he's a very senior member of our congregation. When he speaks out of realization. So please keep your ears and heart open to receive what he talks. Thank you so much, Yadavacharya Prabhu. Please welcome him with a big Hari Bol. Hari Bol! So he'll be seated here. So please make your way like this.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajjanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajjanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo Jai Om
Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraja Acharya Satara Sri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraja Acharya Satara Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Namovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhu vayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Sunday Love Feast. Today what I'd like to do is speak about a pastime of Krishna and his reciprocation with the devotees. Krishna comes in many different forms and has many different pastimes. And the reason for that is because we all are different. We all have different desires. We all have different ways of worship. We're just different. So what happens is Krishna is so kind that he manifests himself in so many different ways, excuse me, to reciprocate with the devotees according to their desire on how they what kind of relationship they want to have with him. So this is one of those times where there's a devotee, Bali Maharaj, and him and his wife were desiring Krishna to come and help them because the Bali, which is, Bali comes in line of demoniac family. Although he's a devotee, but he comes from a demoniac family. So what happens is in a material world, there is always a battle between good and bad. Those that are in a spiritual process of life and those that are demoniac, or they like sense gratification. So pretty much the only difference between one individual and the other is the direction that they focus their desires on. Like the devotee desires to have a relationship with Krishna. So we do all these things. We chant, we dance, we read, we associate with devotees for one purpose and one purpose only: to somehow develop a relationship with Krishna or make spiritual advancement so we can go back home, back to Godhead. Well, this incident is not in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, you don't have this duality, good, bad, heat and cold, happiness, distress. There is no such thing. It doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. Here in the material world, we have these things. So you have all kinds of different situations where there is that struggle for supremacy. So Bali Maharaj wanted to gain the kingdom of Lord Indra. So what he did is he ended up conquering the heavenly planets. But this story, actually today I'm supposed to speak about the 3 steps of surrender. So I'll try to focus on that. I made some notes because I have a tendency to deviate. will try to follow my notes. How many of you are familiar with Lord Vamanadev, the pastimes of Lord Vamanadev? I know the devotees, but, you know, you guys all know, so, you know, I'm not gonna. Okay, I'll speak a little bit. Well, let's start like this. First of all, like I said, I made some notes because I have a tendency to. There's so much up there that sometimes everything wants to come out and nothing comes out. Nothing good anyway. Anyway, so Lord Vamanadev is one of the incarnations of Krishna. And he came down to favor one of his devotees. And Krishna favors devotees in many different ways. And this is a very extreme way that Krishna favors Bali Maharaj. Because Bali Maharaj was extremely powerful. He was very, very wealthy. Just because somebody comes in a demoniac family, that doesn't mean they cannot become powerful. They also become powerful. But this Bali Maharaj just happened to come in a family of Prahlad Maharaj. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Prahlad Maharaj, but he comes in a family of Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad was a great devotee of Lord Krishna's. And so Krishna came down as Lord Nrsingadev to protect him. In this case, Vamanadev came down to take away everything from a devotee. So this is a very nice, and you know, when I was asked I had a choice of a couple of things, you know. Lord Vamana's, let me slow down a little bit, I'm trying to get too much in. I had a choice to speak about the appearance of Lord Vamanadev, and the other choice was the 3 steps to surrender. Well, Krishna's pastimes are there, and they're wonderful. You should read them. But what happens is behind every action that Krishna does, there is many reasons, and there is much to be learned from that. So what happened is I chose the 3 steps to surrender. Now, my experience has been through the years that when I would speak with someone and I would use that term surrender, you could see their face like, nobody wants to surrender. Nobody wants to surrender. We don't want to surrender anything. You know, most of the time we hang on to things that we don't even never use, but we still hang on to it. So we don't like to surrender. But there is a difference between material surrender and a spiritual surrender, and this is very, very important. Whenever you tell someone who's not Krishna conscious or doesn't have the knowledge about Krishna, if you tell them surrender, the concept of surrender is like if you ever watch like World War II movies, or if you normally in most cases, materially speaking, if you surrender to them, if you do surrender to someone, you lose all your benefits. As a matter of fact, there could be much suffering in that form of surrender. So that's material surrender. When you surrender materially, you get nothing. As a matter of fact, you probably get disrespected. If you surrender spiritually, it's just the opposite effect. Anything that you do spiritually has a positive effect. It cannot have a negative effect because spiritually speaking, there is no such thing as negative. Everything increases. Everything I always say, if you put 1% in a spiritual bank account, that 1% will be there eternally. And whenever you decide, the desire comes and the desire to surrender or to give more to Krishna, then what happens just keeps adding to that bank account, and you can go millions of lifetimes, or you can finish it up in this lifetime. But when you reach 100% in that spiritual bank account, you go back to Godhead instantly. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to add to that spiritual bank account that you know, you guys are here, so you're adding to that spiritual bank account. So spiritually, when you surrender, that's the benefit that you get. And the more you surrender, the better the benefit, the more the benefit. So don't be scared to surrender. You just have to understand who to surrender to. If you surrender to someone that cannot help you, then there's no value to surrender. If you surrender materially, okay, you gain something. Even if you gain something, no matter what you gain, at the time of death, you're going to lose it anyway. So really, there is really no benefit to that. There is some benefit because there's sense gratification, but sense gratification ends. I'm getting older, and I can tell you, I used to enjoy very nicely. Now, when I try to enjoy, I probably couldn't even, my body and my mind, it's just, I don't have any interest in it anyway, but, maybe a little bit. But what happens is eventually that enjoyment fades out. And at the time of death, you're going to lose it anyway. No matter what you gain, you're going to lose. So there's really no benefit to surrender to the material energy. It's not beneficial. Not beneficial at all. And even if Maya, say, the material energy was kind to you, or your karma is good, or no matter what you gain, you have to think about it. Life will go by, boom. I come to the temple, and when I come and I see devotees here, it reminds me of when I was a brahmachari a few years ago. Time flew by. From 73 to now, time flew by. Now I'm getting older and I'm realizing, what a waste of time. I've wasted so much time. I even waste time now, I'm conditioned, so. But anyway, Lord Vamanadev, as Prabhu said, all the incarnations of Krishna are up in the wall, above the door, so you can see him. And this is, Vamanadev is a dwarf incarnation of Krishna. And when he came down, well, let me follow this, otherwise. I can still read it. Okay, so anyway, this pastime of Krishna is with Bali Maharaj, his wife Aditi, and Lord Vamanadev. And what happened is Aditi desired to reinstate her sons, because when I said this wrong. Anybody familiar with this? Wasn't Aditi? Okay. Yeah, I mixed things up. Kali Yuga mind. What happens is Aditi and Kashyapa desired Krishna to be their son, or that was their desire. So what happened is Kashyapa Muni told her that the only way to do it is you have to do this sacrifice, and that will please Lord Vishnu. And when you please Lord Vishnu, he will fulfill that desire. So what happens is there was a sacrifice or ritualistic performance that he asked her to do. So this is a very difficult austerity to go through. But what happened is her desire was so strong that she ended up performing this, and by performing that, Lord Vishnu Krishna became very pleased with her. And because of that austerity, what happens is he agreed to take birth in her womb. But the story goes, or the way it happens, is what happened is Krishna manifested himself in Kashyapa Muni, within his heart. He was sitting in meditation, he was in a trance, and Krishna entered into his heart, and he understood that Krishna came. And what happened is he transferred it to his wife. And then almost instantly, Lord Vamanadev appeared. But when he appeared, because he's Lord Vishnu, he appeared with 4 arms. He appeared like, Krishna has 2 arms, Lord Vishnu has 4 arms. So he appeared with his 4 arms. And the purpose for that is so Aditi can understand, and also to show everybody else how Krishna favors a devotee. So you can desire and favor to associate with Krishna in that way. There's many different ways to, to associate with him. One way to, there's, you can associate with him as a parent, you can associate as a lover, as a servant, or a friend. There's many, many different ways. And this is the whole purpose of an incarnation. An incarnation is there to favor a devotee, and at the same time to teach everybody else on what the process of surrender is. Now, Bali had more opulence than we could ever imagine. So what happened is Krishna tricked him. So when Krishna came, he came as a dwarf, very small body, as a dwarf. And when he approached Bali Maharaj, he asked him. He said, Bali Maharaj was very favorable towards the Brahmanas, because by nature he was a devotee. He's been meditating on Krishna, even though he saw Krishna as his enemy, but he's been meditating on him. And even by meditating as an enemy, he ended up becoming a great, great devotee. So what happened is, when Krishna came, he came as a dwarf, and he asked him a favor. He said, please, and because he was favorable, because he was a devotee, he was very favorable towards the Brahmanas. So what happened is Lord Vamanadev came as a dwarf Brahmin, and he asked him. He said, "What do you want from me? Gold, anything." He was willing to give him anything. And in most cases, somebody that goes for to ask for charity or stuff, they will ask for gold, diamonds, house, something of value. So what happened is he asked him, "What do you want? You can ask me anything. I'll give you anything." So, because Bali Maharaj was very favorable, so he said, "You can ask anything." So Lord Vamanadev asked, he said, I really don't want anything, I just want 3 steps of land. So Bali Maharaj was very surprised. He said, "I can give you anything. I conquered the lower planetary systems, I conquered the earth, I conquered the heavenly planets." He said, "Anything you ask me, I can give you." He said, 3 steps of land. That's all I ask, 3 steps of land. So what happened is, he said, "Very well. If that's what you desire, then I will surrender to that." And this is the level of surrender. Surrender means is whatever Krishna wants, we surrender to it. And anything that Krishna doesn't like, we reject. And the reason for that is because it's not going to help us. So we are, as a devotee is intelligent enough to understand. Go for the gusto, as the saying goes. Right? That's what they say, go for the gusto. So we're going for the gusto. We want the best. And what's the best? Krishna himself, the loving relationship that you develop with Krishna. Let's go back to Bali. So what happens is, when Bali understood that he's asking, that's all he desires is the 3 steps of land, he actually told him, he said, "You're not very intelligent." He said, "You're a little boy. You can only do so many steps." He said, I can give you anything you desire." He said, "Why only 3 steps? Why not ask me for opulence or something that will set you up for the rest of your life?" He says, "No," that Vamanadev said, "No, I just want 3 steps of land." So Bali Maharaj agreed. When Bali Maharaj agreed, Sankaracharya was his spiritual master. And he told him, he said, "Don't do this." He said, "You don't understand that this is Vishnu. This is Lord Vishnu incarnated as a little dwarf, and he'll take everything away from you." So, and he explained to him how he's going to go about doing this. Despite of knowing what was going to happen. And this is one thing that is very, very important. If you look at all the great acharyas, all the great teachers or preachers and stuff, they all go through great austerities in order to please Krishna. If you look at Jesus Christ gave up his life, Bali Maharaj here is gonna, Krishna will take everything away from him. So what happens is, in one sense you surrender, and maybe some things like material things will be taken away, but on the other hand, the benefit of that is so great that you don't have to worry at all. Because what happens if you keep serving Krishna, when the end of this life comes, Krishna will make great arrangements for all of you. So, take advantage of it. So anyway, his spiritual master told him, do not do this. He said that this is foolish. He said he'll take everything away from you. So he explained to him, you cannot disobey your spiritual master. That's the system. You go, you surrender to a spiritual master, you surrender to someone who's spiritually advanced, and what happens is, when you surrender, you cannot say no. They understand what it takes to bring you closer to Krishna. So what happens is, you need to surrender. So in this case, Bali Maharaj was thinking, how can I disobey my spiritual master? That's unheard of. And how can I not give the charity, to this little Brahmin dwarf? So he was very perplexed. He didn't understand. How do I do this? Because if I disobey my spiritual master, I'm going to have to go and live on the hellish planets. Go to the hellish planets. And if I, don't keep my promise, then what happens is my fame, I will lose my fame. And on top of that, how can I say no? If this is Lord Vishnu, if this is Krishna himself, how can I say no? How can I refuse him? But the spiritual master told him all different ways how to get out of it, actually according to scriptures, because the Brahmins, the Brahmins are very expert in Vedic philosophies. They know the rituals, they know how to perform them, they perform them perfectly, very nicely, and they get results from them. Well, the unfortunate thing is that you have to develop love for Krishna or great attachment to Krishna in order not to be materially motivated. And sometimes just the rituals and following the rituals, the Vedic rituals, deviates one from the ultimate goal of total surrender, to surrendering your heart or surrendering everything to Krishna. So what happens is that was the case with that was the same case in here. So when he told him, he said, "Don't do this." After Bali Maharaj thought about it, he said, "No. If this is Lord Vishnu, then let him take whatever he wants. I'm going to surrender." So he actually rejected his spiritual master. And this is why we have, like, in a Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that whenever somebody says something, or somebody like I'm here now speaking, qualified? No. Far from being qualified to speak. But I was asked to do a service. So to do the service for Kishore Kishori, I am doing this. I apologize that if I make so many maybe mistakes or whatever. But what happens is, we go back to that. The spiritual master can be rejected if it's against the Vedic principles. And in order to understand it, if you ever want to know if somebody is speaking the truth, then what happens is these three things have to be there: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Those three things have to be there. And if those three things agree, then you can take to it full-heartedly. Bali Maharaj was a great devotee. He understood that that's not right. That's not wrong. We worship Krishna to surrender to him, fully surrender to him, which is not easy, but fully surrender to him. Now I have an opportunity to fully surrender, then I'm going to do it. He decided, I'm going to do it against the order of my spiritual master. If I have to go to hell, that's fine, but I cannot refuse Krishna. So what happens is, at this point, Lord Vamanadev said, okay. Lord Vamanadev took one step. That's why we say 3 steps. Because what happened is he asked him for 3 steps of land. So when he took his first step, he covered all the planetary systems, the lower planetary systems, Earth. Second step, he covered all the heavenly planets. And when he extended his arms, he covered the whole universe till he was so large, kept expanding himself. He was so large that he was right at the edge of the universe. And when he was at the edge of the universe, he took his toe and he poked the universe. And on the other side of this universe is called the Causal Ocean. There is an ocean that surrounds us. And when he poked it, some of the ocean came down. And when it mixed with his lotus toe, and then when it flowed down, it became the Ganges. So the Ganga River is actually an ocean, or a drop of the ocean that came down with touching the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then now, if you ever go to India, you will see the Ganges River is worshipped. And it's not worship because it's a river. It's not worship because they can get fish out of it. It's worship because of this pastime. That's where the Ganga comes from. It comes from the toe and the heavenly planets, or the spiritual world, actually. Because beyond this universe, you have the spiritual world. So what happened is, by two steps, by his expansion, everybody could see. They saw all the planetary system. They saw all the individuals. They saw everything within Krishna's body. Krishna has a universal form. And that form just expanded, and they could see that Krishna owned everything. So what happened is, he took two steps, but he had one more. There was one more step. So he told Bali Maharaj, he said, "You promised me 3 steps." He said, "But with 2 steps, I took everything." He said, "But you're not keeping your promise. You told me 3 steps. So what do I do with that 3rd step?" What can you offer me with that 3rd step? Well, at this point, there was nothing more to surrender. He surrendered his wealth. He surrendered everything. Not that Krishna took back. It's all his anyway. So what happens is, because it's all his, he just showed that. But what happens is, he wanted to favor Bali Maharaj so he can have all this fame. This is actually was in a different yuga, so you're talking about building it trillions of years ago. What happened is, this pastime took place, and here in Kali Yuga, in this age, we're talking about Bali Maharaj. That's how glorious he has become. And the reason he has become glorious is because of this level of surrender. So when Lord Vamana asked him, he said, "Where do I put my next step?" So he decided that only thing I have left is this body, which is really, actually, he was corrected by his wife that please forgive him, he's an illusion. He thinks that this body is even his, but we all know that it belongs to you. So what happened is, when he surrendered like that, he said, "Well, I don't have anything else. Please take that 3rd step and put it on my head." Now, this is a perfect example of what a devotee is. Someone else would lament. Like when we lose something. I lose stuff all the time. It seems like I have to be very organized, otherwise I can't find it. I have hidden stuff and I don't know where it's at. I still, to this day, can't find it. So, but the level of surrender, this is an example to all of us, to show us what level of surrender a devotee should come to. because it is very difficult. I know when I lose something, I freak out, you know. But what happens is when Krishna comes, might as well surrender everything. Because we're going to lose everything at the time of death anyway. What are you going to take with you? There's a saying, you know, you come here butt naked and you leave butt naked. Hope I'm not committing offenses. But there's nothing that you can take with you. So what happens is all the possessions and everything that you own and that you use, what do you use it for? And this is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Someone who likes sense gratification. Someone who likes sense gratification, no matter what comes their way, they're going to be thinking, how can I enjoy this? And the devotee is just the opposite. He will see it, he see it like anybody else. If you dress the devotee in regular clothes and you put him on, nobody would know the difference. How do you know the difference if someone is spiritually advanced and someone's not? You can't tell. The only way you can tell is when they open their mouth. Then you can tell. Because someone who's into sense gratification, they'll talk about sense gratification. Someone who's Krishna conscious, no matter what you start, no matter what kind of conversation you start, they will always go back to Krishna or the philosophy or something in relation to Krishna. And that's the only difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. And then there's degrees. We surrender a little bit. When we first come, you know, we surrender by coming. We surrender like, you know, sometimes devotees will tell us, you know, like I remember when I first became a devotee, many people would come, and I knew that I didn't know anything, nor did they. So, you know, we just encourage them. Yeah, just keep coming, take prasadam, it's fun. We dance, we sing, we all do all this. Takes nice foodstuffs. So we try to encourage them that way. And those are different levels of advancement, that 1%. We keep increasing that 1%. It's not easy to sit here and give a lecture. I'm scared to death. I've been around since, I joined the movement in 1973. That's a few years ago. Still, when I'm asked to give a lecture, ask my wife, I go in panic. It's very difficult. It's something that's hard to surrender to, because you are put right in front. You know, you mumble. I mumble and stumble, and you know, not good at this. I never really learned a proper way to do it. But what happens is the thing that I have is I've been associating with devotees, so I've learned a little bit. And there is one thing that I've learned from becoming a devotee in 73 to now, is there is absolutely nothing better than what we're doing right now. And there is no greater benefit than what we're doing right now. So when Bali Maharaj surrendered to that degree, if somebody came to me and said, you know, give up everything you own, I don't think I could do it. Nobody's ever done that, but could we do it? Probably not, right? But the point that I'm trying to make is what happens is the level of surrender, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are sincere. Be sincere towards Krishna. Don't try, you cannot cheat him. You cannot, he knows everything. He's situated in your heart. Krishna manifests himself in so many different ways, and one of the ways that Krishna manifests himself, he's within everybody's heart. But he's there as a witness. He just witnesses to make sure at the end of your life, you get exactly what you deserve karmically. And he's always enlivening us and encouraging us to become more and more Krishna conscious. So the levels are not as important as, you know, understanding that I have to be truthful to myself. Try to be truthful to yourself. Try not to lie. As a matter of fact, lying is people lie all the time. Oh my God, people lie all the time. It's one of the reasons why lying is so bad is that Mother Earth says this: I can tolerate almost anything, but I cannot tolerate a liar. And a liar, you can lie to someone else and it'll be fine. Maybe they'll find out, maybe they won't. But lying to yourself is even a bigger sin. And people lie to themselves all the time. Oh, I'm okay, I'm fine. I'm this, I'm that. Not fine. We're in a material world. Nothing's fine. There's danger at every step. Every step. We don't know what's going to happen next. So the best thing we can do is do what is the greatest thing. Greatest thing, to some degree or other, surrender to the process of devotional service. And whether you give a donation or whether you come here and you dance and chant, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you conscious, I'm doing this for Krishna because I know this will benefit me the most. So reading the pastimes of Vamanadev, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, reading the Bhagavad Gita, associating with devotees. This process is for us now. We cannot do great austerities. Aditi went through great austerities. I'm not going to tell you details, I could get into a few details. But what happens is, I'm going to keep it from you, so maybe you will have that desire to read. It is a wonderful pastime. Well, all of them have their own pleasure centers. I guess I can say. What happens is, this pastime in particular shows us the ultimate goal of a devotee. And the ultimate goal of a devotee is to fully surrender. We cannot do the rituals. We cannot do the fire sacrifices. We cannot do the austerities that they were capable of doing it in previous ages. As a matter of fact, each generation is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. They're getting weaker mentally, they're getting weaker physically. And now with the restrictions, I see people, some of the people walking around like they're zombies. So it's a dangerous time, dangerous thing so because we cannot perform those austerities, we have an austerities for this age, for right now. And that austerity is Harinam, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam. The holy name, the holy name, the holy name of Krishna. You can Vamanadev, Lord Nrsingadev, Matsya. Doesn't matter what pastime, doesn't matter what you call. The point is Krishna's holy name. So in this age of Kali that we're living in, we are very incapable of doing a lot of the rituals, and we are incapable of following these austerities. So our austerity is chanting Hare Krishna. It's almost so easy, it's hard to understand for many people. Well, how can you make so much benefit by mumbling something? Krishna's holy name is so powerful that it can purify and give you all the results of the previous, in previous ages, all the austerities of the previous ages that they had to go through to benefit in some way, you can achieve by chanting Hare Krishna in this age. Tell me we're not fortunate. It's so simple. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simple. The only thing that's hard is sincerity. You have to add sincerity to that. Oh Krishna, oh energy of the Lord, please engage me in your service. And and engaging in His service, our chanting should be like a child calling for his mother. This is what Prabhupada taught us. Your chanting should be like a child crying for his mother. If you can do that, 100% guarantee you'll get all the benefits of all the fire sacrifices and everything else. Take advantage. You're not going to get anything better. So finally, when Bali Maharaj surrendered, after he surrendered, what happened is Krishna gave him his own planet. Give him his own planet to rule and worship him. But that's not all. So it doesn't matter. He surrendered everything, and he got so much more. So much more. But there's more to this. Also, Krishna took all this away from him because he wanted to reestablish Indra in his own original position. Bali conquered. Bali always had a desire to conquer over Indra. And what happened is at one point, the demons were favored. And they became so powerful, they ended up conquering the heavenly planets, even Indraloka. Took over Indraloka. And he performed a sacrifice. And if you read Krishna's pastimes or in Krishna, you always read about the Brahmins doing sacrifices. We hardly ever see fire sacrifices anymore, where it's very difficult for us because the mantras are very difficult to chant properly. I see people meditating. I mean, I see people meditating, and bless their soul. I'm glad that they are interested in the meditation and everything else. But you see them meditate 10 minutes, half hour. Back in the old days, they would meditate for months on end. Even now, there's yogis in the Himalayan mountains. They don't eat, they don't drink, they just meditate. They go into a trance, and all they do is absorb themselves in Krishna's pastimes. Or, some of them are, they're Mayavadi, so they kind of, they absorb themselves in the energy of Krishna. We are Vaishnavas. Vaishnava means one who worships Lord Vishnu or Krishna. I like this better. I mean, how long can you go? Nothing, 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 nothing. It's impractical. And in this age, it's impractical. Back in them days, there was no distractions. So they could do that. Right now, chanting Hare Krishna is very easy. You can do it anywhere. You can drive, you can chant. You can walk, you can chant. Even in your sleep, you can chant. If you learn how to do that, you'll never, and when you chant, you won't go into the mode of ignorance. Now let's go back to Bali Maharaj. So what happened is Bali ended up getting his own planet. And not only that, but Krishna agreed. He said that I will become your doorman. I will guard your planet. This is the extent how pleased Krishna becomes when we end up surrendering to him. So don't be afraid to surrender. If I was to say, there's some things that you should get out of this lecture, because I know lecture, we speak and then half hour later we get absorbed in something else and it's easy to forget. But what happens if there's something that I would like you to get out of this lecture is one of them, understand surrender. Understand truthfulness. Truthfulness doesn't mean being truthful. It means being truthful to other people, but more so is being truthful to yourself. That is very important, and that's not easy. It's not easy. Look in the mirror sometime and ask yourself, where am I at? Very difficult. But that's what is needed. That's needed. To become Krishna conscious, you have to be truthful. And if you want the earth to be happy, Mother Earth to be happy, and if you want things to get better, because they are not getting better. We've been avoiding the news or anything else, any contact. They don't get paper. I've been avoiding it because every single time I end up either watching something or that, it's so depressing to see how ignorant the society has become. How greedy they have become. It's horrible. Horrible. How much time? Okay. How much do you need? How much sense gratification do you need? But once you get into sense gratification, it never stops. You will not find a limit. Chant Hare Krishna, you'll find the limit. At least you will be happy. Okay, my wife is she tells me time. So, that question, maybe one or two? Okay, I apologize I couldn't go through this. If I'm invited again, I'll speak again. Hopefully I can, say something of value. But I will take questions now, only a few, because we don't have time. No? There is.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for beautiful narration of the past time and sharing your heartfelt realizations and giving very wonderful instructions, reminding us about chanting the holy name. So, I was thinking, Prabhu, how do we understand that how much ever we are surrendering is enough surrender or not? Or even we are surrendering or not? How to understand that?
You will know when you surrender enough, because Krishna will start taking things away from you. And in a good way. You have to understand, everything that Krishna does is good. There is no such, there is no bad. So whenever he takes something away or something, that means you're benefiting. So if he starts chipping at you, be grateful. Because what happens is, if you show sincerity, he will push. He'll push. Don't be scared though. Don't be scared, just surrender. It's so wonderful. Little bit of trust in me. Just trust me a little bit. Just don't worry about, how much or that. What happens is, be sincere in whatever you do. Krishna's got everything. What can we give him? There's nothing we can give him. But there's something that you can give him which is voluntarily. That cannot be forced, and that's love.
Yeah.
Just figure out how to love Krishna. Krishna has so many pastimes and so many things. You can figure out something that you really like, and when you like it, absorb yourself in that to such a degree that Krishna will manifest himself to you. And you will start realizing him from within the heart. And when, he'll instruct you from within the heart, do this, don't do that. And then that comes. Just be sincere. It's not time or anything else. It's sincerity. It's the quality. Love. That's all Krishna wants. Just love me, and I'll take care of the rest. So just figure out how to love Krishna. It's easy to love him. It's hard not to. Once you get a taste, it's hard not to.
Thank you very, very much.
Krishna.
I just wanted to add my favorite part of the story about Lord Vamana. The dwarf Lord, Vamana, when he transforms into Trivik Rama, he leaves his footprints on the forehead of Mahabali. Right? And that's how people know to leave him alone. Right? And so there's an interesting story, right? There's an interesting message. This is my favorite part of that story, is that even though the Asuras and the Devas are clashing, and the Devas are family of Krishna, because Mahabali bows to him and because Krishna puts his feet on his head, he protects him. So even though Mahabali has taken everything from him, and even though he has tried to become the Lord of heaven, right, because Indra is the Lord of heaven, Krishna still gives back to him as soon as he bows. Right? So there's an incredible story there, that even though the Asuras and the Devas are enemies, Krishna is so giving and so merciful that as soon as an enemy bows to him, his mercy is manifest. And there's an incredible lesson for all of us there, because we all have enemies in our lives as well. And when we surrender to the Lord, we can understand our enemies as well. Right?
Yeah, Krishna doesn't have enemies, or
right.
he just however somebody goes gives himself towards him, that's how he reciprocates.
Right, he has no enemies, but he has family, right? The Devas are Krishna's family, right? They're like his personal, they're his relations.
Okay, I'm going to make something clear. It's not that Krishna favors the devotees, even though he does. Okay, it's spiritually speaking, it's hard to explain. But what happens, not that Krishna favors the devotees, is what happens is it's an automatic reciprocation.
Right.
So at whatever level you turn towards Krishna, what he does is he reciprocates. The demons, they don't want Krishna. They want to enjoy the material energy.
Right.
They don't want Krishna. And that's why there is that difference. But really, to him, there is no difference.
Right.
We're all parts and parcels of him, so.
Right, so I guess maybe I misspoke. Bali was never his enemy. He was the enemy of those who loved him. Because the Devas love Krishna. Do they not?
Bali loved Krishna. Hiranyakashipu.
Did he love him or did he serve him?
Well, he loved him. Otherwise, how could he surrender to that degree? You can only surrender...
Because he was beat by him.
What is love? What is love?
Love is what gives someone willing surrender without being beaten by the Lord.
Surrender means love.
Surrender means giving in.
If you love someone, you're surrendered to that other individual. If you love him, you will surrender unconditionally, right?
So I love my parents,
Right.
but if they told me, for example, that Krishna isn't God, I would never surrender to them, despite how much I love them. I would never surrender to my parents telling me Krishna can't be your God, which they've tried. And so I love them, and I know I love them, but I won't surrender in that way to them. I know that out of love we surrender to Krishna, but I think that some surrender to Krishna because they're brought to their knees, right? And that's how they find their love. But some people, they fight against his will, and that's why they suffer. And then he reveals himself to them through his sword.
But that's the point, is that's their choice.
Right.
It's not that Krishna favors or did. It's
Right.
their choice. They want to have that kind of relationship with him, so he reciprocates.
Right, I agree. Some people choose to fight the Lord, and other people choose to surrender to him out of love.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for this enlightening class.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. So the prasadam will be served outside, so while you go out, please take the takeout boxes. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your lecture.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. No, he knows more than me. Don't ask him. Well, he does. He knows pastime that I don't remember. I'm not sure where you got it from. Hare Krishna. How are you, Prabhu? How are you?
We can turn it off, yeah.
Send me a picture. Yeah, Vishnu. The V is a representation of Lord Krishna. This means a Vaishnava, someone who worships Lord Krishna. So when he said that, that's why we mark our forehead.